Apple's China headache worsens as iPhone faces double-digit sales slump. Please subscribe to the channel to receive global updates regularly. Let's dive in the video. Apple's problems in China are getting worse. Jefferies analysts forecast a double-digit drop in the country's iPhone sales, Bloomberg reported. Apple's tough start to the year is continuing. The tech giant is still embroiled in a public legal battle that has blocked US sales of its Apple Watch. Meanwhile, the company's stock suffered two downgrades in the first week of January, first by Barclays and then by Piper Sandler. Apple's problems in China are also worsening. Data obtained from market research company GfK by Bloomberg showed that Apple's iPhone 15 hasn't been selling as well as its predecessor in China. The slow start from Apple's latest offering recently expanded to a 30% year-on-year decline, Bloomberg reported, citing Jefferies analysts led by Edison Lee. Apple isn't likely to see its iPhone sales recover from this sluggish start, per Jefferies analysts, which forecast a double-digit drop in volumes for 2024. The company saw a similar decline in December, per Bloomberg. The Chinese government has been cracking down on the use of iPhones by officials in the country. Bloomberg previously reported that Chinese officials across at least 8 provinces had been told to stop using Apple's phones. Apple is also under pressure from local competitor Huawei. Jefferies analysts previously said Huawei had outpaced Apple's iPhone 15 with its Mate 60 Pro smartphone, released weeks before Apple's new iPhone iteration. Last year, CEO Tim Cook made 2 trips to China to try and defend the company's position in the country. China has long been one of the iPhone maker's most important international markets, with much of the company's manufacturing still conducted there. Apple did not immediately respond to a request for comment from Business Insider, made outside normal working hours. This shift in consumer preference is a clear indication of how the smartphone market is evolving in China. It's no longer just about owning the most expensive device. It's about owning a device that offers the best value for money. And right now, it seems like the domestic brands are winning this race. The situation is further compounded by the slowdown in the Chinese economy. With less money to spend, consumers are becoming more price conscious, making the more affordable domestic brands even more attractive. The changing tides in the smartphone market pose a significant challenge for Apple and its iconic iPhone. With domestic brands gaining ground and the economic climate working against it, the iPhone's reign in China may be coming to an end. The Chinese economy, once a roaring dragon, is now showing signs of slowing down. The engine that powered the world's second-largest economy is losing steam, and this is having a profound impact on global giants like Apple. For years, China's rapid economic growth, fueled by massive infrastructure spending and an expanding middle class, provided fertile ground for Apple's expansion. But the landscape is changing. The trade war between the United States and China, slowing GDP growth, and a decline in consumer spending are reshaping the economic terrain in the Middle Kingdom. Let's start with the trade war. The tit-for-tat tariffs imposed by the United States and China have disrupted global supply chains and created an atmosphere of uncertainty. This has led to a drop in consumer confidence, which is critical for a company like Apple that relies on discretionary spending. Next, we have the slowing GDP growth. For decades, China's GDP growth has been nothing short of phenomenal. But now, the numbers are starting to tell a different story. Economic growth has slowed to its lowest level in nearly 3 decades, and this slowdown is directly impacting Apple's bottom line. Finally, there's consumer spending. With the economic slowdown, Chinese consumers are tightening their belts. High-ticket items like Apple's iPhones are being viewed as less of a necessity and more of a luxury. This change in consumer behavior is causing a significant dent in Apple's sales figures. In a nutshell, the macroeconomic factors in China are creating a challenging environment for Apple. The impact of these headwinds is evident in the company's declining sales and shrinking market share. As the Chinese economy cools, so too does Apple's once sizzling sales performance. With a challenging landscape, what does the future hold for Apple in China? The road ahead may seem undeniably rocky, yet it's important to remember that Apple is no stranger to adversity. The company has consistently demonstrated its ability to adapt and innovate, even in the face of formidable obstacles. So let's talk about how Apple could potentially revitalize its business in China. One approach could be the introduction of cheaper models. Apple's premium pricing strategy has served it well in many markets, but in China, where consumers have a myriad of affordable, high-quality alternatives, it may be time for Apple to reconsider its pricing model. A more competitively priced iPhone could certainly make the brand more accessible to a wider range of consumers. Another potential strategy for Apple could be to forge strategic partnerships with local companies. This would not only allow Apple to tap into the extensive networks and resources of these companies, but it would also demonstrate Apple's commitment to investing in the local market. And of course, we can't overlook the power of the innovation. Apple's reputation as a tech pioneer is one of its greatest assets. By investing in new technologies and differentiating its products, Apple could reinvigorate consumer interest and re-establish its unique value proposition in the Chinese market. Despite the current challenges, we mustn't forget that China's vast consumer market still represents a significant opportunity for Apple. The sheer number of potential customers is staggering, and the appetite for technology products shows no sign of waning. In conclusion, while the road ahead for Apple in China is fraught with challenges, there are also opportunities for growth and innovation. Apple's journey in China is far from over, and with the right strategies, the company could yet turn the tide in its favor. Only time will tell if Apple can regain its footing in the Middle Kingdom